Path of Exile is an action RPG in the same vein as Diablo. It's being developed by an independent developer, Grinding Geared Games. I've thoroughly played Torchlight 2, Diablo 3, and now this game, and honestly, I find Path of Exile superior to both of them. The game is currently in closed beta, but will open to the public mid-January. I want to mention this is an initial impressions of the game because a lot can change before the final release. Currently there are 6 available classes to play. Each class is a variation of Strength, Dexterity, and Intelligence. The 6 classes are Marauder, Ranger, Witch, Duelist, Templar, and Shadow, and each plays out a little differently. Each class has access to a passive skill tree, and it's ginormous and looks like this. It reminds me of Final Fantasy X's sphere system. Every class can access the same passive skills, but it branches out differently depending on the class you start out with. You get points to put into the tree by gaining levels or completing quests. Immediately you understand customization is a key element to the success of this game. Now the actual abilities are stored in gems you can find from enemies, or you can pick them up from quests. Think materia from Final Fantasy VII. All classes have access to the same skills, but as you level up the abilities, you may not have the required stats to use them. Skills are actually leveled up simply by killing monsters, and each skill has its own experience and leveling system, which is a really nice change instead of the get a level, pick a skill to level up concept that most action RPGs use. Along with regular skills, you can pick up a passive skill gem that can alter the original skill in some way. All these together create a very nice progression of your character. You're almost always leveling up a skill, your character, or branching out on the passive skill tree. Path of Exile also doesn't hound you with dozens and dozens of repetitive quests. The amount of quests are usually minimal and unique, similar to Diablo II. You have a nice convenient waypoint system, town portal system, act system, and of course a difficulty system. Unlike Diablo III, Path of Exile really is the true son of Diablo II. It's dark, gritty, and lands the customizations just right. I also like the potion system. You don't have to buy a million potions anymore. You get flasks that replenish themselves by killing enemies. Now you'll still be using potions constantly in the game, but it's more balanced around how many enemies you're killing. Like I said, the game is still in a beta stage, so there's bound to be some glitches. I found that grouping with friends is pretty fun and easy, but there's a disconnect between your quests and your teammates' quests. For instance, my whole team had the same quest, we fought the boss together, but only the individual who picked up the quest item was allowed to continue. I had to restart the game and log back in for the quest to finally register. I'm not sure if they plan on adding more abilities in the game. The game has a lot of customizations, but the amount of abilities is actually pretty limited right now. I like to see it doubled. If they do plan on adding more, that's wonderful, and that's even more reason to play. But as it stands, I could see the game being somewhat repetitious after you've spent about a dozen hours on each class. The game is expected to have 3 acts, with another act added every 6 to 8 months or so there's a lot to play through. Also be prepared for extreme inventory management, as items take up a lot of space. The developers responded in-game to a question about whether they had plans to reduce item size. He responded that they want people to micromanage their inventory and choose what items they want. Because the game is based on a bartering system, it would actually ruin the economy to allow more items in the inventory, but I still find it pretty inconvenient. Like Diablo II, items drop on the ground for everyone. However, you get a few seconds where the item belongs to you. If you can't pick up the item in time, it's available to anyone on the team. I actually wish the timer was slightly longer, as sometimes the game doesn't always want to pick up the item at a reasonable speed. The game's not perfect, but considering it's free, I find it worth every second. It doesn't have the polished graphics or some of the story events like Diablo 3 does, but I find myself enjoying it so much more. I give the closed beta of Path of Exile a B+. I'll be re-reviewing this game after it's officially out of beta.